Today, we're excited to be joined by Sydney Scales, a former Boston College women's lacrosse player from Walpole, Massachusetts. Sydney was a team captain and standout defender, helping lead BC to 4 straight NCAA championship appearances and 2 national titles. She earned top honors, including IWLCA Defender of the Year and ACC Scholar Athlete of the Year. After graduating, she transitioned into coaching and now serves as an assistant coach for Harvard women's lacrosse. We're looking forward to learning more about Sydney's view on health and wellness, both as an athlete and as she's transitioning into her post-athlete life. So with that, let's dive into it. So our first question for you is, who are you? What do you do? And why do you do what you do?
Great. Well, thanks for having me. My name's Sydney. I am currently living in Walpole, Massachusetts. I'm from Walpole, like you mentioned. I've been an athlete all my life. Sports have played a crucial role in the person I am today. I attended Walpole High School where I played basketball, field hockey, and lacrosse, and then Boston College. And now I currently coach at Harvard. So I love coaching. Really glad I got into it. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do after college, got the opportunity to work at Harvard, and I've loved it ever since. It's definitely something I'm really glad that I did. And then I also have my own lacrosse training business, City Scales Lacrosse, that I do on the side as well. So lacrosse is definitely a heavy part of my life, but I love being able to have a relationship with people that I work with and the players that I coach, and it's really meaningful work. So I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, you're an entrepreneur too. I forgot to say that. On business.
Yeah.
You're doing that out of Compete, right, Sydney?
Yes, compete in
Yeah.
Norwood. We do like clinics and small group lessons, and hopefully we'll expand to more and more stuff as time goes on.
Yeah, how is that going?
It's good. It's a good balance being able to have both, but still be in the same industry in both jobs.
Is it hard to balance the two? Like,
I'd say it's not so much balancing the two, but starting two new endeavors at once that's hard. When I jumped into coaching, I started in September, and that's like the busiest time of the year, or one of the busiest times because it's recruiting season. And then I was also started my business in September, so I was trying to, do all the things you have to do to start a business, like on the business side, and then also like kind of trying to do all this recruiting stuff with Harvard and being a part of that. So I think just trying to start the two at one was a lot, but now that I kind of have the swing of things, it's definitely getting better and better.
And clearly, obviously, sports have been part of your life for a long time. So starting back in like your childhood, high school, we talked about you and I playing against each other in high school. We
Hmm.
played multiple sports. Then you transitioned to focusing on one sport. And I know we also talked about what it looked like for you playing at BC. Like you were at the facility all day. But do you want
Right.
to start with from there? Maybe
Yeah, definitely.
you have siblings, any family?
Yeah, definitely. So I have three siblings, older brother, younger sister, younger brother, and both my parents all very supportive. Um, Kind of touching on what you just mentioned, going from three sports to one. In high school, I played three sports, basketball, field hockey, lacrosse, and then I'd say similar to you, when you played two sports in college. I wanted to play basketball in college really badly because that was kind of my main sport growing up. But when recruiting season rolled around for lacrosse, I was definitely like still wanting to see what that was like and what opportunities I had and if I had the opportunity to play both. And a lot of people always ask me like, why did you pick lacrosse? And I think what it came down to was just wanting to compete at the highest level. Like I wasn't going to go to like a UConn for basketball, but I could go to like the top school for lacrosse, and wanting to have that level of competition was something that was important to me. And I'm really glad that I did it. Me and my dad were actually joking when I graduated. He was like, God, that was the right decision. And I
Oh
was
my
like, yep,
gosh.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad we did that.
were there times where you were like you regretted it or like you were like hesitant about your decision, like when you either when you first made the decision or like early on at BC, or did it once you made the decision, did you like know, okay, this is the right thing? I just like
Yeah, I'd say when I first made the decision, I wasn't hesitant about choosing lacrosse, I don't think, but I was hesitant, like, am I good enough to play at this level? Because I had never been so like deeply into lacrosse. It had always been basketball, like I mentioned, like going to the AAU basketball tournaments and traveling for basketball. I'd never been like doing lacrosse showcases and doing like club lacrosse. Like I did do club, but I wasn't so involved. So I think more of my skepticism stemmed from like, okay, this is what I choose, but like, am I ready to play at this level? Once I got there, obviously I had so much support from my coaches, and I got transitioned from a midfielder to a defender, and I was actually much more confident on defense. So being able to be put into a role where I had more confidence really helped me.
okay, that's helpful, that's awesome. I think that's like I feel like that's something that like people in all different, whether it's like all different sports or all different kind of where you like identify as like basketball is my top sport and this is like who I am. And like I play lacrosse and I play field hockey, but like basketball is my sport. I feel like that is a hard transition, regardless of like whether it's sports or jobs or anything in life. It's like you think of yourself as one way, and then when you have an opportunity that's like different than what you thought of, and you just are kind of like thrown into it, you might have like, I don't know, like whether it's like, am I like you said, like, am I good enough, or like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? So it's cool that like you kind of took on that role and you just kind of made that jump and you did it, and then like you've had so much success from it. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing I realized too, I think was, yes, I love basketball, but I love like competition. And the reason I love basketball is because I pour so much into it and there's so much competition. But if I just pour that same amount into lacrosse, I'll get that same amount of competition. And like that is what like makes me love the sport. Like it's not that I love basketball and more than lacrosse, it's that I love like competing more than both of those things.
Yeah.
How did you get over whether it's like the identity thing, or you said you like the balance of sports in high school and then going all in, and then you're playing at the top school at BC,
Hmm.
really are fully all in, and kind of getting over that mental piece of like I am more than a lacrosse player, because especially because I mean you're known as like top defender and like lacrosse, like Sydney Scales, people think of lacrosse. So how do you deal with that like emotionally and just find balance in other ways? Or did you ever hit that?
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing that me and my roommates, we would constantly almost hit a point every year where we were like, wow, we're living the same day over and over again. Like we wake up, we go to class, we go to practice, we come home, we go to bed, do homework, like, and it was just on repeat. And it was hard. Like you just have so much redundancy and it can get tiring and like almost boring in a sense. But I think one thing that really helped me was trying to cultivate a lot of like leadership and be a leader, because that gave me an identity away from lacrosse, because leadership wasn't just something that was on the lacrosse field, it was something that was 24/7. And specifically senior year being a captain, I think it was something that we had to do all the time, obviously, because when you're playing at a high level you can't turn that leadership aspect on and off, but that almost was like, obviously it had its downfalls, but it was almost good for me in a sense that it gave me something else to focus on too, besides just like being a lacrosse player. And it was something that I knew I was going to take with me into the rest of my life.
Totally. It's something a little bit more that you can control too, like how you show up for your teammates, and then also putting more effort into that, like you said, will give you more longer term benefits. Although some rings are also nice. The
Yeah,
case.
not bad.
And to that like point on leadership, I feel like it's like there's people who are like natural leaders, and there's other people who it's like it takes like cultivating the skills and kind of being put in that position to kind of understand like what kind of leader you are. Did you do anything in high school that kind of like prepared you for like the leadership roles in college? And curious to hear kind of like how you approach leadership both on the field, off the field. Everybody has like a different style, but curious to kind of hear what your style is.
Yeah, definitely. So I was a captain in high school, and I think that definitely was a nice like stepping stone, but it's like it's definitely a whole nother reality when you get to college. Like I said, it's like a 24/7, like you're working another job almost.
Yeah.
But one thing going into college, I was very like X's and O's oriented almost. So like if we lost a game, it was like, okay, what were the X's and O's that we could have improved kind of thing. But a lot of the philosophy at BC that was cultivated by our coaches was surrounding the things that weren't X's and O's. So like mindset, leadership, social sacrifice, like all that stuff. Um, and at first, like I was like, I almost didn't understand like how those things were just as important. But as I went through my BC career, and especially now that I'm a coach, I totally understand that I think those things are almost more important than the X's and O's, because you're gonna have games where you don't shoot well or you're just not clicking, but you can always have good leadership and you can always have like good relationships with the people around you. So I think one thing that really helped was my coaches at BC did a good job of trying to build me up as a leader before I actually got into that leadership role as a captain. So I remember like having a conversation with my coach when I was a sophomore, and she was just kind of giving me like the green light to be a leader and to like say what I saw and to vocalize my thoughts. And I think that conversation right there kind of allowed me to really gain confidence and to do the things that I was thinking about, but might have been a little bit nervous to say to like an older upperclassman. And then by the time I became a senior and became a captain, I already had experience doing those things, and it was almost easier because now I'm the oldest on the team, so it's easier to tell those people under me. Whereas like when you're younger, it's not always easy to tell the people who are older than you.
I was thinking too, in games, was there ever a saying that you like returned to, whether it was like a motto or a mindset, like when you kind of maybe hit a rough patch or had a little bit of lack of confidence? Because no matter what, any athlete has that feeling. So I'm curious if there's anything that you turn to in big moments.
Yeah. So we actually had this thing last year that our defensive coach Jen Kent came up with, and it was just we would just say eyes. So we would be in a defensive huddle, everyone's like super in tight, arms around each other, and you just say eyes, and you would go around, you would look every single teammate in the eyes, they would have to look you in the eyes, and it just like prospered this sense of trust and this sense of like love amongst the group, and it always kind of centered us like when things were going wrong, and we were able to just know, okay, it's not just me. I have specifically seven other people in this unit to help me, and they have my back, and I'm going to have theirs. And that was something that we did all of last season. We probably started it like halfway through the season, and we did it so much, specifically in like those crunch time championship games. And I think it was really something that centered us.
Yeah, because you live in your head as an athlete too. So like seeing that there's a community and people around you, it's like it's bigger than me. Like get out of your head.
Totally. And
That
it's just
mistake.
literally just one word.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too because I feel like you said when you were in high school, it was more of like the X's and the O's, and then like when you
Mm-hmm.
shifted into college, it was like there was just like it was the holistic approach to leadership, and it was like the mindset, the social sacrifice, and kind of like becoming a team of like we're in this together, and it's not just me, and it's not just each individual, where it's like it's more like you guys are the sum of one and not just an individual. So
Yeah, definitely too. I mean, or the time that I remember us doing that most would be like the ACC tournament and then playoffs. And it's like at that point, you've already practiced these X's and O's for 7 months. Like you're not changing anything. You're either you know it and you're either doing it out on the field or you're not. So at
yeah.
that point, it's like those other things that you got to make sure you have, because those are the things that then allow you to do the X's and O's at 100%. One thing is just really cultivating your relationships with your teammates. Again, going back to the non X's and O's things that are important, probably the number one thing that we focused on was our relationships with each other. Obviously, lacrosse is a larger team sport than, say, like a basketball, and you're not going to be best friends with 40 girls, but being able to have relationships with everyone and to have love and respect is super important, especially because you're spending time with people over and over, that at some point you're going to want to talk to that person that you don't talk to as much, and it's almost like a like refreshing to just be able to have a different conversation. And when you have so many different relationships, you feel less and less like you have redundancy, and more like you're just talking to different people, learning different perspectives, and it kind of keeps that fresh sense of excitement involved in the team.
That I feel like there's such a emphasis on like individual skill development too with athletes nowadays, like focusing on sharpening your skills. So how would you say like to balance developing your own skills but also developing those relationships?
I would say just know, like, one thing we would always say in college, or our coach would always say, is like how you do in lacrosse is not that everything is related to lacrosse. So how you do in school is related to lacrosse. How you treat people outside of lacrosse is related to lacrosse. Like everything is intertwined. We don't live with just like walls up where each thing is its own separate realm. So knowing that you pouring time into your teammates is actually you getting better at lacrosse too, because it's all intertwined. And the more chemistry you have with that person to the left and your right, the better it's going to help you on the field. So I think kind of having that intertwined approach of like the more you pour into these different areas, it's going to uplift every area of your life, not just that one area.
Yeah.
it sounds like that was more of a focus in college than it was in high school. Like, how did you see kind of how you showed up on the field and like how you were a player change and evolve while you started to prioritize these different areas, like how you showed up on the field, off the field for your teammates, and like how that evolved to how you played lacrosse?
Yeah, I think it definitely gave me a heightened sense of confidence. Obviously, in high school, the stakes are high, but it's not the pressure that you feel in college. And when you get that added pressure, you have to be more confident, or else you're just going to crumble under that weight. So being able to have such deep connections with the people around you, like I said, like some of my first thoughts when I'm like going into a big game is that I don't have to do this alone. I have this person to my left and this person to my right, And that would just give me such a sense of like confidence and almost like calmness, knowing that, okay, if I, this one bad set that I have, it's okay because I have seven other people who are going to make up for it behind me. And I think that gives you such confidence and such calm. And once you achieve that calmness, you're actually just playing better. And that one bad set doesn't even happen.
I love that. I think it's so easy to get into your head, and like if you just get into your own head, then you're just gonna spiral. But when you look at like
Hmm.
looking at the eyes of the teammate around you, it kind of gets you out of your head and onto the field and kind of into yourself as a player, and kind of calms you and shows it allows you to kind of show up as the best
Totally.
and best player.
Hmm.
I was a big high fiver. I feel like my teammates always made fun of me, but
Yes.
I constantly needed to like touch other people or like
Yeah,
just
no,
focus on
I
myself.
love that.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about BC. I mean, you touched on it briefly, but if you want to give specifics about like what a day in the life looked like as an athlete there, and then all of a sudden you graduate and you're just done, you have no coaches telling you what to do.
Hmm.
What does your wellness slash fitness look like now? I know we talked a little bit about marathon.
Yep,
And you've just
definitely.
ran the Chicago run, right? Is that right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
ran Chicago in October. So a day in the life of BC, I'll give a day in the life in the spring, which is a little bit different than the fall, but all the same. Luckily, we get to sleep in a little because our practice block was actually in the afternoon. So, and I'm not scheduling any 8 a.m.s or anything. So
Sleep is
class in the
important. Sleep
morning.
is important.
Exactly. I need 9 hours a night. So we would, yeah, class in the morning, probably like 9 to like 12, but when you're a senior, less than that.
Yeah.
And then do treatment slash get lunch like 12 to like 1:30. If we had film, we would start at like sometimes a little bit earlier at like 12:30. Practice would be like 1:30 to 4, 1:30 to 3:30, like 2 to 3 hours. And then twice a week we would do lift after practice. We'd have that. And then right after practice, even if it's like 4:45, we're going to get dinner. So probably go to the dining hall with some teammates, grab dinner, shower, any homework that we have to do. I was a big walker in college, so if it's nice out, maybe take a little bit of a lap around the res or something, grab ice cream. Um, and then
Every day. That's a day in the life.
yeah, and then hop
Every
into
night.
bed. Hop into bed. We got to get at least like two Netflix episodes of something in, and then hit the sack, white noise, blast it as loud as possible.
So you gotta like your teammates spending that much time.
Yes. Yes. Luckily I did.
Kayla, isn't that crazy? Just the
That
con
is crazy. Yeah. It is just such a different schedule than a non-athlete. And it's
Yeah.
like inspiring. And like I feel like I wasn't an athlete, and growing up in high school, I played like soccer and I ran track and did like club soccer. And so I was always playing sports and always had my routine, like the schedule from
Yeah.
7 in the morning to 8 at night. And it's like such a different shift. But I think it's like also that shift between, even though you have a schedule all day from like the morning to night in college, similar to like what you had in high school, I'm sure it's like, it does sound like it's like a different shift. It's not like you're
Yeah.
at school from like 8 to 3, and then you kind of have practice and you go home, and like I mean it's similar, but was that
Yeah.
like hard transition to get into?
Yeah. Well, initially I got there when it was like still kind of COVID. So we didn't even have lacrosse for the first like 2 months that I was in college. And then when it started back up, it was super slow. And they actually do a really good job at BC still, even when it was non-COVID, of having a very slow ramp up in the fall. So that was nice. But I'd say, yeah, when I got to the spring, I was like, oh wow, this is like go time. We're going
Yeah.
here. But I would say it was like very like season dependent. There were some seasons that I felt like, or even like fall seasons, I was like, oh my God, like this feels long. And then there was others that I was like, this went by in the blink of an eye. I actually like I saw it, I forget who posted a quote after the Super Bowl, maybe Antonio Brown, I don't know. He was saying how he realized when he won that he like just loved the process, like even more than the actual win. And I felt like I like resonated with that. Like at least senior year, obviously winning the national championship was unbelievable and it felt amazing. But I was almost like, oh wow, that actually really do love the process, because even though this is so amazing and great, I'm like, part of me is still like so like sad that this is going to be over. And obviously that comes with graduating and everything. But for me, I think senior year, I really like started to love the process and started to, or not started to, but like felt had a deeper love for it and just being able to have that leadership role and have that be a much larger part of the process was really nice because it like divided up the lacrosse into the play and then the leadership, which was nice. So it didn't get redundant.
You forget on the day-to-day basis. It's because you're on just like go mode, like, okay, go to practice. You don't realize the
Hmm.
growth that you see until the end, or like, or how good you are. Like you're surrounded by so many other talented athletes that you're like so hard on yourself every day in practice. Then take yourself out of that bubble, like that BC lacrosse bubble, whatever. And if you go pick up a stick on like a high school field and someone watches you play, it's like, wow, she's talented.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think that's something that you love to do though. You love to compete, you love to challenge yourself,
Hmm.
put yourself around like other highly motivated people, which is something I respect. But then, okay, so then back to the question then. So what happens when all of a sudden, I mean, now you're coaching and you're still on a team kind of in that,
Yeah.
but all of a sudden everything stops. You win a national championship, but no more structure. Clearly you learn that you love the structure. So how do you,
Hmm.
well, yeah, what does it look like now for you and how did you create it for yourself? And has it been hard?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, it definitely has been hard, like adjusting just being out of college. But one thing I learned about myself in college was that I do love routine. I just love having that set stuff that I can do every day and it makes me feel good. I would say I went through like different periods post college. So, for a month after college, I moved to San Diego just to have some post grad experience. So my workout schedule was a little all over the place, and I was also just starting training for the Chicago Marathon. So that was probably the least schedule I had, but it was good for me to kind of have not as much structure after having it for 4 years. And then I went and played in the AU Pro Lacrosse League in Maryland for July. So then my workout schedule completely changed. I couldn't really train for the marathon, and I had games, 3 games a week, and I was trying to kind of just lift like twice a week. So that was another shift. Then I got back from AU and the marathon was like 2 months away. So I kind of just dove into marathon training since I hadn't been doing it for the last month and
You're still
focused on
staying
that.
active at least. Like you're sitting on the
And then
couch.
so then the marathon happened and then I was trying out for the Team US for lacrosse. So then my workout schedule shifted again and there were no more long distance runs. Now it was going to the local gym, compete like 3 times a week and trying to play lacrosse as much as possible. And that's kind of what it's been since. While I'm still playing lacrosse, it's been like 3 days a week of going to the gym, 3 days a week of lifting, and then conditioning and trying to just play as much lacrosse as possible still while I'm still trying out for these different teams. But it's definitely been a lot of different things, but just trying to, whether it's having a routine for 3 months or 2 weeks, I still just try to be consistent with whatever phase of my life and whatever's going on around me.
How do you deal with those transitions though, especially if they're every 2 to 3 months? Do you like that quick shift? Does it affect your body or your mind in a certain way? The shift is a little bit hard for me sometimes, but it's good honestly if you're doing it more often and it might ha like come easier.
Yeah, I would say it's hard because one thing I like is be able to do something for a while so I can see myself progress, which is now where I am because I've been working out. I've had the same routine for the past few months. So I finally like seeing progressions happen again. But when you're doing something for like such a short period of time, sometimes you can't see the progression and that's hard. But I kind of just took it as okay, this isn't for like seeing the progression. This is more to accomplish a milestone that I've really wanted versus like trying to lift weight like lift heavier weights or run a faster time. No, I'm just trying to finish this marathon so I can kind of check off like a huge milestone. So I think I just tried to shift my mindset from what the goal was and kind of have like a larger see the bigger picture.
I love that. I love the idea of milestones because you had the NCAA championship as a milestone and then you were like, okay, I need something else.
Yeah, I was like, okay, marathon.
But do you think it will be marathons for a while? Do you have other milestones? And do you write this down? Like, are you a
Oh
journal?
yes. I got well, here I'll show you guys. My bucket list. I actually don't know when I made this and it could use some updating, but I made this I don't know if you can see this. I'll
Oh,
just read it out. But athletic events to do. Boston Olympic triathlon. So I've done like, oh, I did a sprint triathlon and I saw Maggie on the beach
oh
actually.
yeah. In Falmouth, Gila, in Falmouth.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you had no goggles on. And I like had a wetsuit. So yeah, I want to do that, but we'll see because I'm not sure the swimming in the Dorchester Bay is something that is super enticing. But so that's my first thing, and this is in no particular order though.
Mhm.
Half Ironman, Ironman, Spartan. So like at Fenway. That would kind of just be like a fun thing to do with friends. Pam Mash Challenge down the Cape. I told one of my best friends has done it, so I said that I would join that. American Ninja Warrior.
Okay.
I feel like that's a childhood dream I have to live out. My family was like one of those families that was obsessed with that show.
That's
Um, Marine Corps 50K. I honestly don't even remember putting that on there, but we can't delete it now. And then I do want to do all the marathons. So right now there's 7 like majors, and you get like the Abbott medal when you finish, but they're adding 2 more to 9. So we'll see. But that would be a goal of mine to be able to do all the major marathons.
Kayla, can you tell she's competitive? You've never met her before.
that is a ton.
I
know
know.
that's
That's a
your whole
special
life.
person to be able to have
I
all
know. I think I'm
that.
gonna have to do them like 2 or 3 in a year is what's gonna have to happen.
Oh,
Yeah, I like that though, because it's when you do hit that plateau or like midlife crisis, whatever you want.
Yeah,
yeah.
If you just find something to either
definitely.
or check off, I think that's kind of
Hmm.
helpful when you
Yeah.
Yes.
not like
Yeah, and
that.
I think I just wanted that routine back too. It was like
Yeah.
I had a crazy summer. I was like, okay, I need a reset.
The routine, like there can be routines that it's like, okay, I have the same like your lacrosse team. It's your same routine. You're showing up every single day. But then like life changes, like
Hmm.
routine's gonna change, but it still doesn't mean you can't have a routine. And like there might be changes in what the routine looks like, but there's priorities that you're showing up for every single day, which like continues the routine, which
Definitely.
sounds like you do a really good job at that.
What's one wellness habit you consistently swear by?
So I am like so strict about my sleep. I always have been. Asked my friends since I was in like high school, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, she went to bed at like 8 o'clock." I just think that
We sound more
have
similar.
yeah, literally like if I get like 7 hours of sleep, I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know how I'm gonna like function, which is like whatever. Not actually, like I'll be fine. But ideally I get like 8 hours of sleep every night. And I just think it's so important. Like when people are like, I sleep for 5 hours, I'm like, that affects every single other part of your life, whether it's sports, your personality, how you treat other people. I just think it's like the number one most important thing, and it will have an impact on every other aspect of your life.
I love that. And I think some people are just used to that baseline. They don't realize how much they benefit. Uh,
Yes.
and then another question, what are 3 resources like books, podcasts, or apps that have had a big impact on your wellness journey or that you turn to?
I love the Huberman podcast with Andrew Huberman. I listen to that one a lot. And recently he's been coming out with like shorter podcasts, just called like I think they're called like essentials or something. So it's like a little bit less like of the sciencey data and a little bit more of the this is what you should do. So those are great, especially just like driving into work. And then probably just like talking to the other girls who I went to college with and kind of seeing like what they're doing. Like a lot of times we'll text and be like, oh, what's everyone doing for a workout? Or does anyone have like a good podcast to listen to or something? So just talking to those people who just went through the same things and are now kind of also in that transition and hearing what's helped them has been really beneficial.
Okay, and our last question is who do you nominate to share their wellness journey next?
I nominate, sorry, I wasn't ready for this question.
No, it's fine. It's good. Think of it.
Okay. I nominate my friend Audra Tassoni.